Dear students, welcome to physics class. I am Dr. J.C. Babu, Assistant Professor of Physics from Vivekananda Government Degree College. Today, we will discuss about nuclear structure, the properties of nucleus and its structure. For this, I am going to share PowerPoint presentation. So, in this today's topic, we will going to discuss about the nuclear structure. So, the topics of today are first, general properties of the nucleus, nuclear forces, liquid drop model, semi-empirical mass formula and binding energy, finally, shell model. And as you know, the nucleus is consist of nucleons. Like the atom, the smallest particle of the undivided particle is called the atom. So in atom, the center, the nucleus is exist. So the nucleus size is, when you compare to the atom, is very less. When compared to atom, it is very less. We indicate the atom as X, Z, A. Z is the atomic number and A is the mass number. Z minus A gives the neutron number. In nucleus, the nucleons are protons and neutrons. So that the nucleus consists of nucleons that are protons and neutrons. They exist in a small area. The atom, almost all the almost total atom is empty. The mass concentrated at the center, that is called the nucleus. So, when compared to the size of the atom, the nucleus is very small. The atom size is more than the 10,000 times than the nucleus. So that in the nucleus is very denser space and concentrated at the center of the atom. Concentrated at the center of the atom. From the Rutherford's work, the main radius of the nucleus comes out to be 10 power minus 14 to 10 power minus 15 meters. So we found the empirical formula for the nuclear radius. R is equal to R0 a to the power of 1 by 3. R0 is the constant, that is R0 is equal to 1.3 into 10 power minus 15 meters. A is the mass number of the nucleus, a to the power of 1 by 3. R0 is the constant, that is equal to 1.3 into 10 power minus 15. For example, if you take the hydrogen atom, A is equal to 1, that we will give R0 is equal to 1.3 Fermi. 1 Fermi is equal to 10 power minus 15 meters. If we take the carbon atom, the mass number is 12. So that R is equal to R0 a to the power of 1 by 3. So R naught is equal to R is equal to 1.3 into 10 power 12 power 1 by 3, that is equal to 3 Fermi. So the size of the nucleus is very less when compared to the atom. It is the atomic size is the radius of the nucleus is 10,000 times smaller than the radius of the atom. So that the whole atom is empty. The mass is concentrated at the center and the electrons are revolving around the center, if you know, if you take the atom. So the nucleus is very denser space which is concentrated at a small space. So that when coming to the size of the nucleus, it is very less in terms of 10 power minus 14 to 10 power minus 15 meters. So that the density of the nucleus is very high. How we can calculate the density? The density of the nucleus rho n is equal to nuclear mass by nuclear volume. The density we can calculate mass by volume. So when coming to the mass, we can calculate the nuclear mass. We know from the mass of the nucleus and nucleons, that is protons and neutrons come together, we can calculate the mass. And volume, when if you assume that nucleus is circular, so that the volume of the sphere, nucleus is sphere, we can calculate the volume of the nucleus by 4 by 3 pi r cube. So if you calculate the mass, total mass number into mass of the proton or neutron, we will get density of the nucleus is equal to 1.816 into 10 power 17 kgs per meter cube. This is the high density, the nucleus having the high density. All the nucleons are closely packed in the nucleus. As you know, charge. So these are the general properties of the nucleus we are discussing. The charge of the nucleus is also equal to the charge of the proton, because there is no charge for the neutrons, so that charge of the protons is equal to the charge of the neutrons. So that a nucleus having the positive charge, that is equal to 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 proton charge into nuclear into proton number. If Z is the proton number, total nucleus charge comes to the Ze, where Z is the atomic number. So that the total charge of the nucleus is equal to total charge of the proton, because there is no charge for the neutrons. Neutrons are the either not positive or negative. It's neutral charge. The charge of the nucleus comes from the only protons. The proton charge is equal to 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs. So if your proton number is Z or atomic number is Z, the total charge of the nucleus becomes Ze. And nuclear mass. Just as we discussed, the nucleons or nucleus consist of the nucleons which are protons and neutrons. Z is the proton number and N is the neutron number and A is the atomic number. So that Z nucleus consists of Z protons and N neutrons. Therefore, if Mp is the mass of the proton, total mass of the proton is equal to Zmp. Mn is the mass of the neutrons, total mass of the neutrons is equal to Nmn. So that total mass of the nucleus is equal to Zmp plus N into Mn. So that this is the mass where N we can calculate. N is equal to atomic mass number minus atomic number A minus Z. So that the calculated mass of the neutron is Zmp plus A minus Z into Mn. But if you compare with the real mass, this calculated mass is more than the real mass. This is not equal to, this is only, this is not equal, this is less than the real mass. So that the real mass is less than the calculated mass. So calculated mass minus real mass gives to mass defect. So this mass defect delta M is equal to the calculated mass of the nucleus and real mass of the nucleus gives rise to the delta M, which is called the mass defect. This is delta M. So delta M is responsible for the binding energy. Due to this binding energy, delta Be is equal to delta MC square. This binding energy is responsible for the nucleons are bound together. So that now this mass defect is responsible for binding energy of nucleus based on the Einstein's mass energy equivalence. And also we can say that impossibility of an electron being in nucleus. We can say that the electron cannot be in the nucleus according to Heisenberg uncertainty. More accurately, you know the position delta x, the less accurately you know the momentum, because delta x into delta p is equal to h cat by 2, h by 2 pi. So that if you know the position correctly, we cannot know the momentum exactly. Like that, if you know the momentum correctly, we cannot calculate the position correctly. Uncertainties in delta x and delta p are inherent in physical world and having nothing to do with the skill of the observer. So that if you calculate delta x and delta e, from this we can say that the electrons cannot exist in the nucleus. Now we can come to the nuclear forces. Nuclear forces are very strong forces. They exist in a shorter distance in the nucleus. So these have some peculiar properties. These are strong forces than the gravitational or electromagnetic or weak interaction forces. If you compare with these forces with the gravitational or electromagnetic or weak interaction forces, these are the about 10 power 39 39 times stronger than these forces. So that we can say that nuclear forces are very strong forces exist in the universe. These have certain properties. We can say that these are the short range forces because these forces are limited to nucleons only. Nucleons, these forces are limited to nucleons only. Therefore, the size of the nucleus is very small, so that the range of the nucleus forces also very small. And these forces are saturated forces because the forces are saturated because uh, it means that each nucleon attracts only those nucleons which are immediate neighbors. It does not impact with all other nucleons. The effect of the one nucleon is the neighboring of the atoms only, but not with all the atoms. And these are the charge independent. The nuclear forces acting between two protons or between two neutrons or between proton neutron, so that the forces between the two nucleons seems to be independent of the charge, so that charge independent. And nuclear forces are spin dependent. They depend on the spin. The force exists between two nucleons having parallel spin has been found to be stronger than the existing between the two nuclears having anti-parallel spin. The spins are parallel, the forces are stronger. The spins are anti-parallel, the forces are weaker than the spins having the parallel spins. And also we can discuss some more points about the nuclear forces. These forces having saturation forces, and there is a repulsive core between the nuclear forces, and these are non-central in nature. The nuclear forces are considered as non-central since angular momentum of the nucleons about the center of the mass is not conserved. These forces are treated as non-central forces. Apart from the nuclear forces are short range forces, nuclear forces are saturated forces, nuclear forces are independent of charge, and nuclear forces are spin dependent. Nuclear forces are saturated forces, and it has repulsive core, and nuclear forces are non-central in nature. So these are the points about the nuclear forces. And here the point is discussed is what is the responsible for the nucleus forces, because in nucleus it's only consists of positive charges of protons. Between the positive charges of protons, there should be a repulsive force between the protons. Instead of repulsive force, there is a strong attraction between the neutrons. The reason for this is the transformation of the mesons. The protons and neutrons will transform from one proton to neutron and neutron to proton by releasing and adding the pi meson. So that Yukawa explained the reason for the nucleus forces is interaction of the pi mesons with the proton and neutron. So that from this, the nucleus forces are exist in the nucleus without repulsing protons. There is a transfer of pi meson from proton to neutron so that they will protons and neutrons will convert by giving pi meson or taking pi meson from one to another, so that this is the responsible for the nuclear forces. Now we will discuss the neutron proton ratio. This is for the this from this neutron proton ratio we can assess the stability of the nucleus. So if the neutron proton ratio is same, if n is equal to z, indicate this black line means that nucleons are stable. But when coming to, if you draw the graph between the number of neutrons on y-axis and number of protons on z-axis, instead of getting straight line graph, the graph will tend towards the y-axis like this. So from this graph, we can discuss some points regarding the stability of the nucleus. As shown in figure, the neutron proton ratio or NZ graph of an atomic nucleus is the ratio of its number of neutrons to its number of protons. Among stable nuclei and naturally occurring nuclei, this ratio generally increases with increasing the atomic number. This is because of electrical repulsive forces between protons. When separation among protons are more than stronger nuclear force range. In particular, most pair of the protons in large nuclei are far enough apart that electrical repulsion dominates over the strong nuclear force, and thus proton density in stable larger nuclei must be lower than in stable smaller nuclei when more pairs of neutrons are appreciated short range nuclear force attraction. So that NZ curve is plot of number of neutron against the number of proton. Thus, this line we can call as the stability line. If the number of neutrons equal to number of protons, so the ratio is equal to 1, then this is called the stability line. Now we can see that here some regions here, this is purple region, this is beta plus emitters, and this green dots gives the beta minus emitters. So that there are some regions, one is beta minus emitters means electron emitters, and this beta plus emitters is positron emitters, and one more region is there above that is not shown in the graph, that is alpha particle emitters. This is on the top of the curve. The alpha particle will also emit. To get the stability, we can have like this emission. So that if you see the graph up to atomic number or Z is equal to 20, both neutrons and protons are same. So that we will get the straight line. For all nucleus with Z less than 20, they are stable nucleus. After that, the unstable nuclei above the stability curves are called neutron rich. After that, atomic number Z is equal to 20, the curve curve is bending towards the neutrons. This tells us that the number of neutrons are more. If number of neutrons and protons are same, we will get like straight curve. But instead of getting the straight curve, this blue line curve is actual curve, the ratio between the n and z. As you see, after z is equal to 20, it is bending towards the y-axis or towards the neutron axis. So this tells us that number of neutrons are more than the number of protons after the z is equal to 20. So that unstability curve we are occurring. Unstability nuclei below the stability curve called neutron pure. The unstability nuclei above the stability curve are called neutron rich, and unstable nuclei below the stability curve are called the neutron poor. If you see some highlights from this NZ graph, we can say that for light isotopes up to Z is equal to 20, the stable nuclei have equal number of protons and neutrons. And point number 2, for heavier nuclei to be stable, they need to have more neutrons than the protons. And number 3, nuclei which are unstable lie either side of the stable line. And number 4, nuclei with too many protons are to the right of the stability line and become more stable by emitting beta plus particle when a photons converts into neutrons. These are the highlights. And nuclei with 2 mu protons are to the left of the stability line and become more stable by emitting beta minus particle when a neutron converts into a proton. So that these are the highlights of the, or we can say that these are the conclusions from the NZ curve. I will repeat. For light isotopes, the stability nuclei have equal number of protons and neutrons. For heavier nuclei to be stable, they need to have more neutrons than the protons. And nuclei which are unstable lie either side of the stability line. If they lie above the stability line, means that they emit the beta plus particle and a proton converts into neutron. And nuclei with too few protons are to be left of the stability line and become more stable by emitting a beta minus particle when a neutron converts into a proton. So this is about the NZ curve. This gives some important features about the NZ curve. Coming to the nucleus models. So the liquid drop model is one. It's proposed by George Gamow. The liquid drop model is, it is some basic similarities of nucleus with the liquid drop, so that this model is called the liquid drop model. So if you compare the nucleus with the liquid drop, the following similarities we can observe. Number 1, the nucleus forces in a nucleus are analogous to the surface tension force of on liquid drop. So nucleus forces are analogous to surface tension force in the liquid. The nucleus behave in a manner similar to that of the molecules in a liquid. Nucleons in the nucleus are similar to the molecules in a liquid drop. And third, the density of nuclear matter is almost independent of the atomic mass number. A shows the resemblance to the liquid drop, where the density of liquid drop is independent of the size of the drop. Fourth, the constant binding energy per nucleon is analogous to the latent heat of vaporization. So that here also the average binding energy is constant, which is analogous to the latent heat of vaporization. Coming to the fifth point, fifth similarity between liquid and nucleus. Thus, the disintegration of nuclei by emission of particles is analogous to evaporation of molecules from the surface of the liquid. So, disintegration of nuclei by emission of particles, which is analogous to evaporation of the molecules from the surface of the liquid. Sixth point, the energy of nuclei corresponds to internal thermal vibrations of the molecules in liquid drop. So, energy of nuclei is equal to the internal thermal vibration of the molecules. And seventh, the formation of compound nucleus and absorption of bombarding the particles correspond to condensation of liquid drop. Here, the formation of compound nucleus in a nucleus, which is analogous to the condensation of liquid drops. So that these are the similarities of liquid drop model. So by this, he proposed the liquid drop model. In view of these similarities between the liquids and nucleus, the liquid drop model is proposed. These concepts are used to find mass of the nucleus. That is, this formula is known as the semi-empirical mass formula. By using these similarities, these ideas are used to calculate the mass of the nucleus, and that is called the semi-empirical formula. Before discussing the semi-empirical formula, we have some merits and demerits about the liquid drop model that we will discuss. The merits are the calculation of atomic masses and binding energies can be done the liquid drop model, and the results are good accuracy with the experimental values. So that by using this model, we can calculate the atomic masses and binding energies. And the number two, liquid drop model accounts for many of the silent features of the nuclear matter, such as observed binding energy of nuclei and the stability against alpha and beta disintegration, as well as nuclear fission. So that this liquid drop model will explain like these properties like binding energy, stability, disintegration of alpha and beta, as well as nuclear fission. And demerits are, according to liquid drop model, nucleus is assumed to be cluster of nucleons, which is more unrealistic. And it fails to explain magic numbers and corresponding high stability. We'll discuss about the magic number sometime later, but it fails to explain the magic numbers corresponding their stability. And it fails to explain the measured spins and magnetic moments of the nuclei. It cannot explain the magnetic spin and momentum of the nuclei. But Based on this model, we try to calculate the mass of the nucleus, which is called the semi-empirical mass formula and binding energy. A German physicist, Carl Friedrich von Weizsäcker, in 1935, recognized some experimental evidences and found resemblance of the nucleus with liquid drop model. Using this analogy, it developed a formula for the binding energy as a function of atomic number A and proton number Z, called the Weizsäcker semi-empirical mass formula. So, by using some contribution of energy, he developed the semi-empirical mass formula. First, volume energy term BV. Each nucleus has binding energy which binds it to the nucleus by means of short-range attractive forces. These forces arise due to the contribution of mass defect by its constituents. Therefore, the volume energy term BV is proportional to the volume, and volume of the nucleus is proportional to A. So that volume energy term BV is proportional to A, capital A, which is the atomic number, and BV is equal to AV into A, where A is the constant called the volume coefficient. So that the first contribution of energy to the nucleus is volume energy, that is BV is equal to AV into A. And second, surface energy term. As you know, as nucleus is finite, some nucleons are near to the surface of the nucleus so that they interact with the few nucleons which exist near to the inside of the surface. Since the nucleons at the surface are less tightly bound, so that their binding energy is reduced. Thus, binding energy of nucleus is reduced by an amount of proportional to the surface area of the nucleus, which is called the surface energy term Bs. Bs is proportional to the surface area, so that Bs is proportional to S. S is the surface area. But surface area of the nucleus is 4 pi r square and volume is 4 by 3 pi r cube, so that r is equal to a to the power of 1 by 3 and surface area is proportional to the a to the power of 2 by 3. So that Vs is equal to a to the power of 2 by 3. If you remove the proportionality, we can get constant minus As. Therefore, Vs is equal to minus As into a to the power of 2 by 3. As A is the proportionality constant called the surface coefficient. And Coulomb energy, Bc. So, Coulomb energy Bc, this term reduces the binding energy, so negative term, due to long range Coulomb repulsion among the protons. You know, the radius, the length of the radius is capital R and atomic number Z. Uniformly charged sphere with constant charge density rho. Therefore, we can get the Coulomb energy term Bc as minus AC Z square by a to the power of 1 by 3, where S is the Coulomb coefficient. And fourth term is asymmetric energy term Ba. This energy term is arising from quantum effect, that is Pauli exclusion principle, which only allows two nucleons each energy states. If you put Z protons and N neutrons into nucleus, the lowest Z quantum energy levels filled by 2Z nucleons. According to Pauli exclusion principle, the n minus z excess neutrons are occupying higher energy quantum states and are consequently less tightly bound than the first 2Z nucleons, which occupy the deepest lying energy levels. The neutron asymmetry gives rise to disruptive term in nuclear binding energy expression. Therefore, it comes minus. So that Va is equal to minus AA n minus 2Z squared by A, where A is a asymmetry coefficient. And finally, the pairing energy term Bp. The pairing energy is found experimentally that the nucleus with even number of protons and neutrons are most abundant and most stable. So even number of protons and neutrons have most stable, so that it comes plus, and nucleus with odd number of both neutrons and protons are the least stable. And third, nucleus for which either proton or neutron number is odd are intermediately stable. So that in order to account the experimentally observed phenomena, the pairing energy term is added. So that in here, depending on the Z and N, whether both are the even or both are the odd, one even or one odd, depending on this term minus 1 to the power of Z minus 1 to the power of N by 2, we will get the pairing energy term, whether it is minus or plus. If here you see, if both Z and N are even number, we will get more stable because this term becomes positive, and the Z and N is both odd, we will get minus term, that is less stable, leads to less stable, and one plus and one odd and one even, we will get intermediate stable. So that this is energy term due to the number of nucleons having the odd or even number of protons or neutrons. And if you calculate the total binding energy of the nucleus, B is equal to adding the all terms, BV, volume energy, surface energy, Coulomb energy, and asymmetric energy and pairing energy terms, we will get this equation, which is called the semi-empirical mass formula. From this, we will get the semi-empirical mass formula. This is about the binding energy we express in this term. From this, we can calculate the mass mass of the atom. M is equal to ZMP plus A minus ZMN minus BE by C square. By using BE by C square from this equation, we can calculate the mass of the nucleus. That is called the semi-empirical mass formula. Now we will discuss about the shell model. So the shell model is analogous to the atomic shell structure, like atomic model, where around the atomic model around the nucleus, how the shells are framed according to Niels Bohr, first shell, second shell, third shell, like that. Nucleus also having some shells. He proposed this model based on the quantum theory because of from shells having the some neutrons having the protons or neutrons, number of neutrons or protons is equal to this number like 2, 4, 8, 20, 50, 82 and 126. They are having high stable. They are having any number of protons or neutrons. Any proton or neutron which is equal to these numbers 2, 4, 8, 20, 50, 82 and 126 having more stable. Because of these numbers are called the magic number. So depending on these magic numbers, this model is developed so that these numbers are called the magic numbers. The single particle shell model is the simplest nuclear model obtained by applying the quantum mechanics. If we observe some interesting phenomena by taking the graph between the average binding energy to the atomic number, that is B by A to A, we can get some interesting point. So this is the graph between the average binding energy to the mass number A. So from this, we can conclude that this gives the stability of the nucleons. As I said, the number of protons or neutrons which is equal to 2, 4 or 8 or 20, like that, having the uh, maximum stability. So that these kings are coming here, and so that the kings are discontinuous or have been found to occur whenever either neutron or proton number or both take the values of 2. Here this is 2 or 4 and 8, 50, 82 and 126. These kings are observed because here the most stable. And stability is related to high abundance. The relative abundance of nuclei with magic number of neutrons and protons, composition of the Earth, the Sun and stars confirmed by the pronounced peaks at 2 helium, 16 oxygen, 40 calcium, 140 cesium, 208 plumbum, which confirms the existence of the magic numbers. So that here, if you take the Pb lead, we can have Z is equal to 82 and N is equal to 126. So that 82 and 126, N is equal to 82 and N is equal to 126, Z is equal to 82. If you take the lead, so that it is doubly magic. N also magic number, Z also magic number. So that it is heavy stable nucleus. In general, double magic nucleus are helium, oxygen, calcium and lead. These are particularly tightly bound. So that when known long-lived isomers, and we can discuss about this concept also, long-lived isomers. So that when you plotted graph between long-lived isomers against the proton number Z and neutron number N, we get groupings just below the magic numbers. These groupings are called islands of isomerism. Islands of the isomerism. So that from this we can discuss the stability of the nucleons. The merits of this shell model is Shell model describes the arrangement of nucleons in different shells of the nucleus, and concept of magic numbers can explain based on the shell model. Number 3, shell model confirms the spin properties of the nucleus and give account of angular momentum, magnetic momentum, electrical quadrupole momentum of the nucleus. And fourth, the concept of nuclear isomers is also confirmed by the shell model. And fifth, nuclear stripping reactions are explained by the shell model. So that the shell model explains the so many properties of the nucleus by taking account of the quantum mechanics and Pauli exclusion principle. The demerit of the shell model is the quadrupole moment values calculated as per the shell model do not tally with the experimental values. This is the demerit of the shell model. So as we discussed today, these are the very important topics about the nucleus. Thank you for watching. And the important questions from this is, what is the nucleus? And we can explain the nuclear forces and explain the properties of the nucleus, or explain the semi-empirical mass formula, or explain the liquid drop model, or explain the shell model. So that these are the important questions may come in the examination. If you go through this video, you will be able to answer these questions. Thank you for watching. If you like my video, please subscribe my YouTube channel, Dr. JC Babu. Press the bell icon to get the subsequent notification. Thank you.